Hi there. Shall we create something beautiful together? Here's what I'm going to start with. I have my watercolor visual journal. That's not the front. It's just a Strathmore visual journal that I am using here. You could use any watercolor paper. And the most important thing in this whole lesson is to start by taking some deep breaths in and exhaling and dropping your shoulders with the next exhale. And relaxing into the moment. You're trying to tap a place that is just pure calm, pure connection. Regardless of what you make, you want to be allowing your true self to come through, however you see that, whether you call it source or your soul. This is just fun. You're just playing. You're a soul playing as a human. So I like to start, whenever I remember, I like to start my art projects and continue throughout with that attitude. So I have some watercolors over here. I have all sorts of brushes. I'm just gonna make some sort of abstract, maybe landscape or maybe just complete abstract. I don't know yet. So join me while I figure it out. I'm over here with my watercolors, mixing up hopefully kind of a turquoise color. I'm mixing sky blue with kind of a mint green, and I'm gonna create a circle. Not a circle, a blob. But I also know that I want to do some different dots. I added a little more sky blue, and I'm gonna make a second shape here. That crosses in. And I'm gonna do a little more dark blue. I'm gonna do a few dark blue drag down dots. If you're working with something like this, pages that aren't flat, they may bleed and go different places. I'm cool with that. Hopefully you're cool with that too. And anytime as you're creating that you start feeling like what you're doing isn't good enough or it's not going the way you want, inhale again and exhale. And just try to come back to now. This is Payne's Gray, and I'm using my size 12 round brush. Just trying to create some movement across the page or pages. This I'm probably going to let dry completely before I add any other layers to it. Just bring that over here. And yes, there are some previous smudges from a painting on the other page, but that's okay with me. I don't love the way this is, so I'm gonna draw it all forward and make a circle. And then I'm going to probably, I'm gonna take, this actually is from a cake, like a frosting set. Just draw that out. Some different interesting ways. Let the paint come out like that. And I might actually sprinkle some salt. One of the few things that I forgot to bring with me into the studio. This is a bigger Himalayan kind of salt. You can use fine salt, excuse me, or bigger salt. So I'm gonna do that. And let's see, I'm just gonna put the excess over here in case I want more. I just cleaned my studio. And as soon as I clean my studio, I find a way to get more of a mess everywhere else. I'm also interested in adding, I think overall I'm looking for the color palette of brown and turquoise is speaking to me. So I'm mixing some raw sienna and some burnt sienna, and down here I'm going to make, I don't know, a shape. Maybe it'll go like that. I wish you could hear my cat right now. I've heard it referred to as the zoomies. She's got the zoomies. Oh, I'm just dripping some paint on. Don't mind me. I'm doing it in a line that follows, and this will spread out because it's wet there. People call it the zoomies. We always say to Coco, we say that she's exercising. Coconut the cat. She's almost 17. She still likes her exercise, although she also mostly sleeps. It's always good when she's active. I'm mixing up another turquoise sort of shade here, bluish, turquoise-ish. I'm letting that both bleed in and stay. And I'm going to add some more of that brown color, and I'm just going to take a clean wet brush and brush right next to it so it can kind of do cool stuff. And I think I would like to add, so now I'm switching over to a Posca paint pen. And I'll let that do its thing. And now I'm just pausing. I'm just pausing to be in the moment to see what feels right. And for me, gold is what feels right. So I'm taking another Posca pen. It seems that I didn't get my large sized one. So I'm gonna use this one. One of the tools that I like to use is my spray bottle. Usually I use this to wake up my watercolors, but it's very fun to spray and see what happens. Again, I'm just pausing here to breathe in and just see what feels like the right next move for me. I've got my bleed proof white here. I'm gonna take a clean brush and dip it in and do some dots. This paint seems to be mostly dry, so it is bleeding in some places where it's wet and pooling there in some places where it's not wet. And I think I'm going to echo this with my marker down here. And then it feels to me like this gold needs to show up on the other side as well. These Posca markers aren't really, they don't do great when they get wet. You may need to have a clean piece of paper nearby if you're using one of these, and kind of wipe it off as you go. If it's silent, it's because I am just sitting with my work, sort of asking without words, you know, what wants to happen next? What wants to be next? And for me, that is some more turquoise. I haven't really done that much. Probably over here. Now, I probably will do a part, you know, I'll probably let this dry and come back and add more. So you get different effects. If you were to add that when this was all dry, it would do something different than what it's doing now while it's wet. Yep. That to me seems like it's a good stopping place. I am going to look, let's see, do I want to, the best time to add textures to watercolors is when they're wet. So I'm gonna actually take this bubble wrap with the little bubbles and I'm gonna place it right here over this section that I just added. And I'm going to put something heavy on it. And then once this dries, I'll brush off the salt, I'll remove the bubble wrap, and then I'll see what I want to do for my second layer. So I'll see you when that's complete. Okay, I think everything is probably pretty much dry, if not entirely dry, but certainly dry enough to work with. So this might be wet under here, we'll see. I'm gonna take this off and peel that back. Ooh, that makes a cool thing, can you see that? So now I'm just going to start, you know what? I said I wanted to do this. Oh, I need to take this off too. I said I wanted to do this, so let's do it together. Just if you've stepped away from your art for a little while, let's go back to inhaling and exhaling. I know that might seem kind of silly, or maybe it doesn't seem silly to you, but it's really important to let yourself enjoy this entire process, give yourself complete permission to just play and have fun. And sometimes it takes a couple deep breaths to get back to that place. I'm gonna go brush this off and then I'm gonna continue and I'll tell you what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Okay, so ultimately what happened here is this stuff, because of the salt, keeping it in a liquid form a little longer, it started to get a little smushed and not working so well. So I sort of blew some of it off, but I also dried it with a paper towel. And if you wait until the right stage, sometimes when you dry things with a paper towel, if they have, which most do, you know, they have kind of a design in them, you sometimes can get kind of a cool pattern. So I don't know, I never let any outcome as far as things like being different or like messed up than what I thought upset me. I just assume it's part of what was supposed to happen. So I just kind of go with it. So now I think what I would like to do is switch to, I'm gonna use some markers. I have these, they're not waterproof. So if I draw over them, they'll bleed, but that's okay with me. So I'm gonna do over here a series of, I think, black circles. As you create work, you'll kind of feel around and find like which shapes you like the most and what you, like I notice I make a lot of circles, but in the past I used to do a lot of star shapes. So it all just kind of Depends, that's why you play, that's why you experiment. I also like spirals. So I'm just kind of making, I like things to be in diagonals, so you'll see me oftentimes making things that go diagonally. Obviously these circles are not perfect. And they're varying sizes. I might also, you could fill some in. So fill some in and leave some open like this. And I think my hand is, yeah, I think that's not quite dry, but once again, going with my all is well kind of attitude. So yeah, I like things to go diagonally, and if not diagonally, usually kind of both diagonally and in a circle. And I'm not sure where this is going to end. I'm not sure what I'm going for here. So it may just stop here, or I think I may have it come all the way down. But it's messing up the tip a little bit because it's still a little wet there. So I'm gonna go easy. I don't know, I may do more there or I may just leave it. And I'm also interested in doing some white here. So I'm wetting my brush and just getting my, you could use a white Posca pen. I'm using my white bleed proof white. I have white gel pens. You can do whatever you want. Whatever feels good to you. I tend to use a lot of turquoise, white, black, and gold. But that's just from my own personal selection of colors that I love. You can work on developing your own sort of like color palette that feels true to you, that you use over and over again. Not that it has to be the same all the time. I find that I use lots of blues and greens, and I use lots of yellows and pinks. And those are kind of like the variations. You will almost never see me using red, like literally almost never. I sometimes, I also don't really like orange, but sometimes you'll see me using those colors if I'm making a landscape or something that has naturally reds or oranges or whatever. And I'm not opposed to red in real life. I like flowers of all colors, but just for me, my personal taste is not, I don't tend towards reds and oranges. These are just the colors that I really like. On my website, turquoise is kind of like the color that I go to the most. Okay. And now I'm just stepping back again to see what I feel like wants to happen next. I like all that's going on. I'm practicing too, using white space. If I've said that before, because I tend to not leave a lot of white space because I just really like adding stuff. I see a little wet spot over here that I'm gonna dry because I want to do some markings through here. So I'm just gonna press straight down on those. Those maybe are still wet, so I'm gonna press on them. And I'm gonna make some overlapping, where's my gold pen that I wanna use? Here it is. I'm gonna make some overlapping kind of like gold marks. Trying to get this started back up again. Are those wet? If so, I want them to dry off. They might be a little wet. And then I want to have a little bit more of a focal point on this side. So I'm mixing some blue, I believe it's midnight blue, to the turquoise that I already had mixed. Because I want a darker color. I'm just gonna go like this. I'm even adding a little more blue, see if I can get it any darker. I don't have a particular agenda with the shape other than sort of round. And I do want it to come down to here. I'm just pausing to see what else feels important to me here. I want to go like that for another shape, oblong kind of shape. But I'm gonna spray this one with my spritzer bottle. There we go. And I'm gonna add some gold in here. I'm still here. I'm just pausing, just looking, taking it in, looking to see where it feels like it needs to be brought back a little. I'm gonna make a square shape here. And I'm gonna peel it back. I'm gonna do the same thing up here because I actually like the way that took away. I'm just gonna do it like kind of a, like that. And peel it back, cool. And I might take out, let's see. I have this gold colored pencil that, well, it's not really gold. It's, I don't know, long ago I must have gotten rid of the part that says what it is. And I'm just making marks that feel right here around these. Compared to the rest of the soft shapes, just offer a little bit of contrast because they're not round. This area to me feels like it needs white, so I'm just gonna grab some more bleed-proof white. The area is also still wet, so it will bleed. I'm gonna hold my brush sideways and just draw down. Clean off my brush, get a little more. I think up here, I want to repeat the circle sort of pattern of the bubbles down here. Just an echo of it. Usually when you're making an abstract work, you'll echo some themes. Layering is certainly an important element to me when I'm creating these. You know, these elements going right over the other elements. I don't know if this gold one works. Are you working? Kind of. Often at some point, I'll come in and add a shape that could be considered either a floral, or you could see this as wheat, or you could see it as a feather. I think I'm gonna let this dry, and I'll probably add one more layer, but here's where I'm gonna leave it until it's all completely dry. Okay, we are coming right along with this. When I look at it, I'm overall happy with the balance and flow, but I do think it needs a big central gravitational sort of point. So I'm going to just go ahead and make big, bold, black flora kind of shapes here. So let's see, I'm just gonna use my black Posca marker and get bold. Is some of this stuff for real not dry? I don't know. It's possible. It's possible some of that is not entirely dry, but I can roll with it. I can definitely roll with it. Okay, ooh, that's good there. I'm gonna paint some white within those, but I want that to dry a smidge. So that's for that side. And then I'm wondering on this side if I also want to have some sort of bold shape, and I'm considering it. I'm just doing that thing that I do where I step back and sort of look. Yeah, I do think I want something. I think I want it to be more circular shaped leaves. Maybe with maybe this color. Maybe not. Maybe I'll see if I can find my medium black Posca instead. So I want to do more of a circular kind of shaped leaf. This marker seems like it has lost its juice. So let me see if I can find another one. I have so many Posca markers, Posca paint pens, and many of them in repeat colors. And to tell you the truth, sometimes I don't do a great job of throwing them away when they're empty. Because sometimes they trick me. This one really does feel empty though, and make me think they're empty and they're not. I found a Sharpie. Let's see if it has any juice. Hi, I don't like the smell of Sharpies. And technically, Sharpies are not really like an art supply per se, in that they're not archival, so I don't use them very often, but that's what worked for this. Okay, I'm gonna use my bleed proof white. You don't have to use bleed proof white if you don't have it, although I do love it, but you can use any kind of white paint, white gouache paint works, or I sometimes use acrylic gesso because it's white. I use whatever I have available. I don't want this to be completely opaque, so my hope is that it's watered down enough that when it dries that you can see through it a bit. This layer is kind of heavy, that's why I'm using it. So I am painting from a sleep-deprived place. I woke up so early this morning, like 4:30 in the morning early, and then I could not fall back to sleep, and then I finally did fall back to sleep. But if you have children, you know, sometimes they wake you up, even though my daughter is, you know, like an elementary school aged child and generally sleeps very well. I don't know, something freaked her out about 45 minutes after I finally fell back to sleep. And my husband, as he sometimes does when he's surprised by things like that, leapt out of bed. So that scared the poop out of me. Oh, just see how the paint won't stick to the colored pencil? That happens with crayons too. I think it's just a cool effect. I didn't necessarily do that intentionally, but I like the way that it shows through. Now, so my point is I'm sleep deprived. I'm still creating though. And it's okay. Sometimes you're gonna be tired. Now, I have a wet, clean brush and I have a Posca marker. I'm gonna kind of paint onto my wet brush with my Posca marker and get this really watered down color. Because I don't want the solid color. I just want kind of a light version of it. I say that, but now that I'm looking, I might want, that might not be enough of a contrast. So sometimes you try things and they don't work the way you want to. So I'm gonna go in here with my watercolors and I'm gonna paint. Watercolor is always drier than their look when they're wet is not what their look will be when they dry. These will not dry this dark. Okay, and then I found this cool cutout, which honestly it would look kind of cool just to like attach it into my notebook as part of a collage. But I found this when I was cleaning my studio today, and I'm going to use it kind of as a stencil. Not kind of as a stencil, as a stencil. So I'm getting my bleed proof white here, loading it up, and I'm going to take this and I'm gonna paint like so over it. And then yeah, try not to, that wasn't exactly what I intended, but because I kind of messed that one up a bit, but I'm gonna layer that one right there. I just stuck my finger in the paint. Did I mention I was sleep deprived? But I still really felt a strong urge to make something today. And now that I've gotten into this, I do want to continue it. I'm not doing very well lifting that straight up, am I? I'm gonna do one more. Still going in a diagonal direction. If you have like regular stencils like that you buy for stenciling in your house or whatnot, you could use those. I probably was using too much paint there. because it's bled, but you'll forgive me, won't you? But can I forgive me? Maybe I'll just brush that out because I really don't like the way that came. So I'm just gonna go like this. And pretend I did it on purpose. Did you see that Saturday Night Live skit? It's supposed to be the LOL, the Broadway show where people are home alone and the whole Broadway show is them singing the silly little songs they sing when they're by themselves. Like, I'm eating chicken for dinner, like that kind of thing. That's what I just did. So I don't know that I like that there, so I'm gonna do something, but I need it to be dry first. I think I'm gonna draw another plant shape there. I'm gonna use, maybe I'll draw it on with a brush if I feel brave. Let me get a nice darker blue kind of color going. I'm actually gonna flip this over and I'm gonna do, I don't feel like I have a great point on this brush, but I'm gonna do my best. I want it to be bluer. I need some new brushes. This one doesn't have a good point. No, it doesn't. Do I have any other brushes with a better point? I don't really want to use my size 12, but I feel like it actually might have the best point, so I'm gonna try it. I need to go buy some more brushes. I'm not happy with this. But I'm gonna live with it. Cause I am already doing it. Maybe if I made them a little fatter, it would make it better. I don't know, let's see. Maybe. Yes. I feel pretty much there with this painting. It is possible when this dries completely that I will go back in. Actually, I might do right now before I'm not here, but why don't any of my pens work right now? And why don't I throw them out once I realize they don't work? This one seems to work. It's probably not working because that paint is still wet, so I'm not gonna do it. I was gonna add some little white details there, but I'm not gonna do it. So basically, just to cover the steps that we, if you painted with me today, we did, I established a background, did another layer, and then added bold elements on top to have visual interest to sort of balance it out. And this is our final result. And I hope you enjoyed it. And hey, hashtag paint with Jen with one N. If you want to share your work, I would love to see it. Bye.